A few years ago, mobile phones in Zambia were just used to make voice calls or to send text messages. But now, mobile phones in Zambia and world over can be used to access various services. With a mobile phone now, one is able to make bus ticket reservations, to order for food, to pay for utility services such as water bills and electricity bills. On this week's edition of News In Depth, we look at how mobile phones are being used to access various services. We'll also look at what regulatory authorities are doing to support the growth of this sector. I am your host, Masauso Mkwayaya. Stay tuned.
The first telephone call in the history of mankind was made on March 10, 1876 by Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone. He made the call to his assistant, Thomas Watson, and the first words were, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." 37 years later, in 1913, the first phone call exchange was made in Zambia and took place in Livingstone, in the then Northern Rhodesia. The power of the telephone can be seen in its continuing spread across the globe. The telephone today is a critical tool of communication and information exchange and has provided a radical way for individuals to talk to each other person to person in real time. However, despite the telephone revolution setting new trends in the manner communication is done world over, the use of telephones was initially limited to particular physical locations. This is because the initial telephone was in form of a landline, which has a wired connection that connects it to the telecommunications network and uses wired telephone lines to transmit calls. The limitation of the landlines is also the case for public payphones that were adopted in different public places across the country. Public payphones, such as traditional payphone booths, have been in use for centuries. However, with growing telephone ownership, particularly of mobile telephones, demand for landlines and public payphones has experienced a decline in recent years in both developed and developing countries. In 1997, the technological wave that was blowing globally spread to Zambia in firstly form of Telecel International Limited. The company launched the first ever mobile phone service in Zambia. The move was a giant leap towards further transformation of the telecommunication industry in the country. As things stand, over 11 million people of the estimated 15 million Zambians have access to a mobile phone. This is according to data compiled by the Zambia Information Communication Technology Authority, ZICTA.
You know, today a mobile phone, you touched on a number of things, but it's a center of, business transactions. Because today your mobile phone or your mobile device is your ATM, it's your bank, it's your payment point. So there are a number of things that actually are happening. And for the regulator, this is the day we've always been looking for.
Owning a mobile phone in Zambia is no longer a show of opulence. A mobile phone is now an indisputable tool of communication and information exchange used to access various services without much effort. For instance, unlike the old way of sending money through snail mail, people in Zambia are now able to instantly send money to different parts of the country using their mobile phones.
One of those that has got an account with MTN, and when I was in Cabo, it's the one that I was using. Yes, I could send money through mobile money. They order stuff for me, like Saraola, they send. Yes, it's been helping, unlike when I travel, because I use transport. But when I send through the same system of mobile money, it's been helping.
This has been made possible with the coming of digital financial services, popularly known as mobile money. Zoona is one of the companies offering mobile money services in the country. About 1 million people use the Zoona money transfer service every month. Since its inception in 2009, the company has recorded transactions amounting to well over $1 billion United States dollars. About 28,000 transactions are recorded on a daily basis. And Zoona Zambia Managing Director Bob Ketin says the company has been able to register tremendous success because it grabbed an opportunity to offer financial services to millions of Zambians who couldn't access conventional banking services.
Prior to 2009, Zona saw an opportunity to make use of mobile phone technology as we saw an increase in the uptake of mobile phones within the market, and we wanted to find a way to make it easier for people to send and receive money when they needed it so that they could support their families, support their businesses, or support their students and whatnot.
The jury is still out on conventional banking. Perhaps this is because of the cost attached to opening a bank account and maintaining the account. Additionally, most commercial banks in Zambia do not have their presence in rural areas where the majority of Zambians live. This means that a lot of Zambians have been left out in accessing banking services, and mobile money is filling that vacuum. The service is now officially regulated by the Bank of Zambia through the National Payment Systems Act. The central bank is happy that digital financial services are capturing majority of unbanked Zambians. The bank says Zambia currently has 6.8 million mobile money accounts compared to a paltry 2.8 million conventional bank accounts. Bank of Zambia Director, Banking, Currency and Payment Systems, Lazarus Kamanga, says digital payment platforms are cost-effective and convenient.
Mobile phones being used for financial transaction is a very welcome development to the Bank of Zambia, given the fact that providing financial services through the digital equipment is the way the world is moving. And we think as the bank that as more people access financial services through these digital means, we are going to include more people in the financial services sector.
However, most players providing digital payment services do not have telecommunication infrastructure of their own and solely rely on mobile network providers. Currently, mobile money service providers like Zona have lamented the unavailability of unstructured supplementary services data USSD services as a utility. Zona notes that any player wanting to access USSD services is subjected to cumbersome negotiations with individual mobile network owners.
One of the limitations that not just as Zona but other third-party providers have is that we are working to be innovative and to create more products and services, but a lot of those products and services, for the consumer to access them, they do need USSD services. And unfortunately, to date, USSD is not issued as a utility. It is based on a contractual relationship with an MNO, and some of those MNOs are reluctant to provide those services at this time. We are engaging with the Bank of Zambia is engaging, but that is a major hindrance to increasing financial inclusion in the country.
Unstructured supplementary services data, USSD, is preferred to SMSs because it offers real-time connection during a session of a particular prompt. USSD also allows for a two-way interaction between a mobile operator and mobile money service provider. In essence, the USSD service allows users to quickly and easily access information from the system compared to ordinary SMSs that tend to be a bit slow and retain a one-way communication stream. And the Bank of Zambia understands very well why companies need to access such services on one platform.
So what we have done, starting with, is to create what we are calling a digital financial services working group. Now, this particular group is a group we think we can have the public-private sector dialogue. And the key players in this is the private sector, because they have the infrastructure and they have to strike deals that will benefit not just themselves as providers of services, but the Zambian population. Because what we want is that these financial services to be delivered to the masses in Zambia at a affordable costs. So this group has already started working. We started with discussing issues pertaining to how we can work together, and that meeting went on successfully. Last week, we had our second topic, which was looking at the issue of an electronic Know Your Customer register. Those discussions also went quite well. So I think what is remaining now is for the Bank of Zambia, ZICTA, Ministry of Home Affairs under the National Registration, Birth and National Registration, for us to come up with how this particular electronic Know Your Customer register should look like.
Government has hinted that it is formulating various legislations that will make it easy for digital transaction service providers to operate.
We need to probably create an environment, legislation-wise and regulation-wise, that supports the growth of this industry, because it's going to continue growing. And this year, we're proposing 4 different bills, legislations that we're going to take to Parliament to support the growth of this sector and also regulate it so that we can protect it from abuse. We have a cyber law that we've drafted. We have cyber crime law also that we've drafted. We have data management law that we've drafted, as well as electronic transaction law that we've drafted. All these 4 are going to support this space to make sure that it's properly regulated and any form of abuse could be managed and stopped as we continue the Smart Zambia journey that His Excellency the President has put us on.
The broad use of mobile services is appreciated by mobile service providers. Airtel Zambia says mobile money services have brought development and are helping a lot of people to do business.
Yeah, we're a financial services business, so we're regulated by Bank of Zambia. And I can assure you that Bank of Zambia has been very helpful in ensuring that we grow this segment. They have given us a lot of opportunities in which to interact with them and see how we can grow the sector. You know, one of the goals of the Bank of Zambia is to ensure that we increase financial inclusion in the country. So we've partnered with the central bank to ensure that we do customer education and customers understand how significant this sector is. We've partnered and we're working with different sectors where we are using mobile money as a mode of payment. So the central bank has been very, very helpful in that most of the policies that they're coming up with, they are policies that will make the business grow.
However, one of the utility companies using mobile money as a payment platform, Lusaka Water and Storage Company, has hinted that the uptake for people using mobile money services is low. The company validates the cost-effective approach presented by the use of mobile phones in service delivery. The company, however, notes that mobile phones are helping the utility firm to operate cost-effectively.
Currently, the uptake is very low in terms of payment platforms. I think we are only taking in terms of e-payment methods. I think it's less than 10% that is using that facility, but it's quite convenient and cheaper to use for both the utility and the consumer. But I think we need to do more of consumer education on using these electronic platforms. If you see, as much as everyone has a phone, but not everyone is connected to these facilities. For example, e-payment platforms, not everyone is connected to such a facility. So we need to probably working together with the financial sector to see how best these platforms can be enhanced. Because if you look at our colleagues like in Kenya, for example, the M-Pesa is used for almost everything. But here I think the few bottlenecks that still need to be dealt with. Probably, I think our colleagues in the financial sector need to think a little bit aloud on how best we could allow these people to get. Because, for instance, I remember one time I had a chat with a client who was advising to say, is there no way we could buy airtime from the street, convert it into probably MTN mobile, then make a payment? But unfortunately, somebody has to go and bank the money first, then that's when you're able to use it.
The coming of mobile phones has opened up many opportunities. Within the financial sector, people can not only send and receive money, but a Lusaka-based youth, Evelyn Kaingu, has created an online money lending service called Lupia. Lupia offers a service where people are able to use a mobile phone to access low-interest loans ranging from 100 kwacha to as much as 20,000 kwacha.
How Lupia actually works is currently you can use it, it's accessible via website, so you can use it on a smartphone, you can use it on a computer, tablet, whichever other smart device that you can use it on. So what happens is you can log in, once we have an MOU with an organization, an employee can actually log onto the platform, fill in an application form online. There's other services that are there on the website itself, so it's accessible in any other format. And what happens is once an application is done, an email is actually sent to the borrower at the same time to the organization for approval. So our loans are pre-approved loans.
In the health sector, people are using mobile phones to access health services. The National AIDS Council, NAC, coordinates a youth service called YouReport, a platform where young people are able to ask questions anonymously relating to their sexual reproductive health via text message at no fee.
In conventional, health systems, for example, providing services, getting services from facilities, it has proved to be difficult in some cases because young people are not able to go to, such kind of places because of many factors. Some of them discrimination. For example, if a young person would want to know about condoms, they go to a service provider. In some cases, they don't get the answers that they want. Okay, so that's how we created this platform called the YouReport. So this is a platform, a confidential platform, free of charge, meant to give a platform for young people to express their views. Okay, so what happens is that this is an SMS platform where young people ask different questions. For example, we have questions such as, what are the benefits of me going for male circumcision? Why should I do that? Why should I use a condom? How is HIV transmitted? Is it only by sexual intercourse? And that's all. So there are all sorts of questions that young people ask.
National AIDS Council, NAC, Acting Director John Mwale has reviewed that mobile phone technology has enabled the council to interact with over 140,000 young people just by the click of a button. The ICT sector is highly technical in nature. Despite its complexities, it has drawn the attention of many young people.
I'm co-founder of Outsource Now. Outsource Now is an IT company that focuses on helping small businesses and NGOs manage their technological needs. So we focus on providing management information systems that will help them manage their businesses and operations much easier. The fact that someone is able to access information from anywhere at any time is just powerful.
Bongo Hive is a technology hub located in Lusaka. The hub incubates young people that have ideas that show a potential to offer solutions to some of the country's pressing challenges using new forms of technology.
We want to be a welcoming environment for people that have ideas. So if we start with the genesis of a business, starts off with a problem that people have, or an irritation, or something that people see a deficit in that they believe that they can solve, and find an opportunity that in solving that problem they can hopefully make some money out of, or they can get paid for solving that solution. People will pay them for taking away that pain or that frustration. And what we found now is that in the area of the use of technology, is that technology does help either speed up or make more efficient the provision of the solution. In the case of Africa and Zambia, where it actually helps is that people having mobile phones on them makes mobile technology an exciting opportunity to explore and to see whether or not that can be used as a technology that is wide-reaching, that reaches people in every area of the country, using a device that they have on their hands. So we've moved from the mobile phone being a communication device to towards a device in which people can get information, towards a device that people can use for other uses. And the question then we have is, given the context that we're in Zambia, and the challenges that people face, is there an opportunity to provide further services towards people that have a mobile device in their hands?
Government has also shown interest in setting up technology hubs in all districts across the country.
ICT College is about to be commissioned. You should take your time to go and see the state of art that this institution has become. I was there, I think 2 months ago. I inspected the servers that they've put up. The technology and the infrastructure is just, it's one of a kind here in Zambia. So through that, we encourage a lot of our youths to start acquiring these skills. In phase 2 of Smart Zambia, we're looking at innovation hubs that we need to start putting up in all the districts of Zambia, where you create this futuristic, economically suited environment for kids to come in. There are laptops there, computers there, broadband, internet accessibility, and they can actually write applications and compete against each other on writing these applications that could actually be commercially viable.
For some time now, traveling from Lusaka to different cities across the country has been known to be a tedious undertaking. This may be attributed to the overcrowded and relatively hostile environment at Lusaka Intercity bus terminus. Sometimes, merely getting a bus ticket at Intercity translates into frustrations and loss of time. To compound the situation, some cowboys also have a tendency of mugging travelers. However, .com Zambia, an e-commerce company, has designed a mobile phone bus ticket reservation service called Bus Tickets Zambia. With this service, one is able to reserve a bus ticket to enable them travel different parts of the country just by use of a mobile phone.
Technology is here to make things easier for you. If you could do something at the click of a button, then you're able to do that more conveniently than the next person who may have to go all the way to go see the bus company, or use more money to actually start calling, try to figure out who can help them, which is very difficult, especially when there's not a structured system. Because it's not like a lot of the bus companies, for example, have call centers. A lot of people do what they do based on calling someone at the station, calling a driver, and trying to say, leave me space. So this was really about convenience, knowing that it's done just by looking at your phone.
.com Chief Executive Officer Mawano Kambeo has lamented about regulations that he feels are hampering the growth of the sector. He says accessing USSD services is cumbersome and expensive because one has to approach individual service providers for the service. He says this is still the case besides applying to ZICTA for the service.
One of the things that companies look for is they look for integration, the ability to integrate into a mobile network easily, for them to actually function. That can sometimes be very, very challenging. Anything from down to, we would like people to be able to use this particular code to access our services on a network. You have to go through quite an arm and a leg just to get that done, from going to ZICTA to get the registration of that line, to then having to talk to each of the individual mobile companies to get them to link into the network. So you tend to find that it's a bit of a cumbersome process, and so one of the feedback I certainly would give to the telecommunication industry is, can you make that process a little bit easier and more streamlined, so that businesses can thrive, because they need communication.
Meanwhile, one of the mobile phone service providers, Airtel, who also offers USSD services, says it is able to integrate its systems with other companies wishing to work with it, provided the said institution is able to build systems that will interact with its systems.
We're able to integrate with a business if they're able to develop a system that will talk to our systems. And in cases where they're not able to integrate at the moment, we offer a USSD payment system where they are able to make payment through merchant transactions, which is purely, we define them as a business unity on our system. And we've integrated with quite a number of businesses.
The Zambia Information Communication Technology Authority, ZICTA, also indicates that it is taking a holistic approach in handling concerns from local players. Executive Director for Support Services Mofia Chisala said the regulator is currently discussing with stakeholders on how best an even environment can be created.
Compatibility is not something that is very difficult. It's very easy to do. The sharing of USSD, we've shown it before, because when we're doing SIM card registration, 101 was the number all platforms were using to check what? To check whether you are registered. And people have used these shortcodes for purposes of what? Of putting products on the table. So merely what needs to happen is these guys need to find a common ground so that they are able to work together. After all, if clients are happy, it doesn't matter which platform you are sitting on.
And government, through the Ministry of Transport and Communication, says it is working towards providing universal access to ICTs in the country. Minister of Transport and Communication, Brian Mushimba, says to realize this, government has embarked on a program to put up communication towers in different parts of the country.
We put up 204 communications towers in the recent past that are working well. We've again starting about 1,009 communications towers. These are bigger towers with larger network coverage and strength. To be 3 to 4 years worth of long project. $280 million that we're going to spend on this. By the time we finish that, 92% of the country will have coverage by phone, internet, and they will have access to these applications that we're talking about, e-services and the smarting of the Zambia that we've been talking about.
Mr. Mshimba says one of the things that will help in addressing unfair and exploitative business practices currently going on in the ICT sector is competition.
What we are thinking through as a ministry and as a government is to create a vehicle that would own the infrastructure. If that vehicle owns the infrastructure, then service providing becomes something that you just go and talk to the infrastructure owner and you provide the service that you need to provide, or the integration that you need to have can then be easily accessible because the infrastructure will be owned in one location and you all can go and lease this infrastructure.
While the uptake of mobile phone services remains low in Zambia, stakeholders project an increase in use covering more sectors. Indisputably, technology has rapidly changed the way people communicate in so many ways. It has changed the way we conduct business and has dramatically changed the way we conduct our social and personal lives.
This is where we come to the end of this week's edition of News In Depth, where we're looking at how mobile phones are being used to access various services. Be sure to join us next week for yet another interesting edition of News In Depth. I have been your host, Masauso Mkwayaya. Pleasant viewing.